Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we bring you an 11 of players who should really think about leaving their club this summer to make the most out of their careers. Let's have it. Keylor Navas. Costa Rica's Keylor Navas became the first from his nation to play for Real Madrid following a €10 million move from Levante after his 2014 World Cup heroics. After deputising for Iker Casillas in his debut campaign at the Bernabeu, Navas became the undisputed number one in the Spanish capital. That was until this season. Despite averaging a whopping 3 saves a game in the league between 2015 and 2018, Florentino Perez still made the decision to sign Chelsea's Thibaut Courtois, who only made 2.4 saves in the same period. As a result, Navas played just 900 minutes in La Liga in 2018-19, that's down from almost 2,500 the 2 seasons prior. At the age of 32, the 86-capped international could well have some time left before retirement, and with Zidane's son Luka also pushing for minutes in goal for Los Blancos, it might well be the time for Navas to move on. He's clearly capable of performing at a top level, and with his employers already spending around €400 million this summer and needing to bring in extra funds, you'd expect he'd be able to find a move away from Madrid fairly easily. Thomas Meunier. Having already been linked with a move away from PSG this summer, it could be wise for Thomas Meunier to seek the Parc des Princes exit door in search of regular first-team football. The 27-year-old has averaged just 17 league starts per year in Ligue 1 since signing for French football's most dominant force in 2016, struggling for a consistent starting berth behind now reserve Spurs right-back Serge Aurier and an increasingly ancient Dani Alves. It's clear why the Parisians signed Meunier from Club Brugge. The Belgian developed into the league's leading fullback, contributing 42 goals in 5 years there. And at an imposing 6'3", he boasts the physical attributes that made him a presence at both ends of the pitch, also making around 3 defensive actions a match. Not bad for a bit part player in a team that averages over 60% possession. However, with Dani Alves ready to cash in his pension, Meunier only has to fend off 20-year-old Colin Dagba for a starting spot under Tuchel. It's a battle you'd anticipate him winning, but if the right opportunity arises, it's certainly something to consider. If you're new to the channel and you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on right now. Kalidou Koulibaly. It's hard to imagine that Kalidou Koulibaly hasn't already established himself as one of Europe's leading centre-backs. But playing in Serie A for a side that isn't Juventus means he probably doesn't get the accolades he truly deserves. Signed by Napoli in 2014 for the modest sum of €6.5 million, the former French youth international has attracted offers close to €100 million over the last year. Napoli's notorious owner Aurelio De Laurentiis rejected any advances out of hand, and it's obvious to see why he wanted to hold on to the defender, who now represents Senegal. Not only does he do what's expected of him defensively, making 3 tackles and interceptions per 90, but he's equally comfortable with the ball at his feet too. He completed almost 72 passes a game throughout the 2018-19 campaign, second best in Serie A, and almost half of those were forward, leading the entire division in that regard. It's clear then that Koulibaly would be at home in the backline of any elite side across Europe, and maybe he should push for that move in order to win the first major trophy of his career. Armando Izzo. Moving from one of the most established defenders in Serie A to one of the most underrated in Izzo, whose form for Torino last season saw his side qualify for Europe. Signed by Il Toro last summer from Genoa, where he made over 100 appearances across 4 seasons, his 2018-19 campaign culminated in his first cap for Italy. Only 3 players in the league last season made more than Izzo's 4.5 tackles and interceptions a match, whilst his 3.2 aerial duels won per game ranks second amongst all centre-backs. Izzo himself has even gone on to claim that there's only one Italian defender better than him in the world, Giorgio Chiellini. And the 27-year-old certainly has his suitors this window, with Arsenal, Everton, Manchester United and Roma all linked with the Napoli youth product. His stock has risen almost exponentially whilst at the heart of one of Serie A's best defences, and as Izzo hits his peak, Torino will hope their own European adventure can keep him in northern Italy. Marcel Halstenberg. Slowly working his way up from the 4th tier of German football in 2012, Halstenberg ended the 2018-19 campaign as his nation's starting left-back. RB Leipzig's headlines tend to pick out Timo Werner or Yussuf Poulsen, but Halstenberg has quietly developed into one of the Bundesliga's most consistent fullbacks, and will surely be one of the first names on the team sheet under Julian Nagelsmann. Naturally a more advanced player, the 27-year-old contributed to 3 goals and 6 assists last season, both being the most of any left-back in Germany's top flight. The latter was also good enough for 3rd in the Leipzig squad, whilst his 2 key passes a match led all of his teammates and was even more than Dortmund's Jadon Sancho. From a defensive perspective, Halstenberg made 2.4 tackles and 1.4 interceptions per game. And combined, once again that comes out on top for Leipzig. RB will hope his name remains slightly under the radar as they look to keep their unsung hero as he reaches his peak. But as elite left backs are hard to come by in today's market, he could well be first on the list should an established European giant go looking for one. Dani Parejo. Despite being 4 points off relegation as late as January, a late season surge saw Valencia rise through the table and pip Getafe to the 4th and final Champions League spot in La Liga. The most instrumental member of the squad was Dani Parejo, who at the age of 30 is club captain and has played well over 300 matches for the side. Parejo kick-started this resurgence with an emotional speech after a 1-1 draw with Valladolid at the turn of the year and backed up his words with performances in all areas of the pitch. Firstly, his 9 goals and 7 assists both topped the Valencia ranks, as did his 62 passes per game, 2.3 which were key passes. At the other end of the field, his 3.3 tackles and interceptions per 90 were bettered by just 2 players. Parejo could be seen to have just one more shot at featuring for a side that regularly challenges for trophies, the 2019 Copa del Rey being the first triumph of his career. If he's capable of dragging Valencia into the Champions League almost single-handedly, just imagine how he performed surrounded by better players. James Rodriguez. In 2014, James was football's newest poster boy, stunning supporters with his performance at the World Cup in Brazil, winning the Golden Boot and goal of the tournament for that amazing volley against Uruguay. 5 years later though, he's become somewhat of an outcast, with neither Bayern Munich nor Real Madrid wanting the Colombian on their books for the coming season. It's hard to put a finger on exactly what's gone wrong. Having just turned 28, Rodriguez is still putting up the numbers that saw Real Madrid pay €75 million for him after the World Cup. His 2.6 key passes per game this season matches his debut campaign in the Spanish capital and would have been the best in the entire Real squad last season, as well as topping Bayern's ranks last campaign too. He did though miss 25 games for Bayern last season due to injury, so perhaps that has some influence on the decision makers at Real. But it'd be a shame to see one of the most gifted footballers to emerge in the last decade slide into footballing obscurity. Reportedly both Atletico and Napoli are in for him. Hopefully at one of those sides he can recapture his form. Ilkay Gundogan. Pep Guardiola's first signing for Man City, Ilkay Gundogan hasn't really settled in the northwest of England, struggling for consistent game time since his arrival in 2016. Only Fernandinho's injury woes at the back end of last campaign truly allowed the German international a regular place in the starting 11, with 23 of his 47 Premier League starts coming last campaign. Gundogan appears to be putting up modest numbers, perhaps a testament to the quality of players around him, but many clubs would pay handsomely for someone of his level. Predominantly a creator, he averages 65 passes a match, 5th of City players to start more than half their games last season, completing a whopping 91% of them, and his 1.4 key passes per 90 places him just behind Bernardo Silva, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling. His future is still not clear. Whilst rumours had him first on the chopping block this summer, Gundogan is now apparently keen to stay at the Etihad and contract negotiations are ongoing. But at 28, if he wants to be more than just a bit part player, especially with Pep's acquisition of Rodri, this summer might well be the time for him to move on and become a starter elsewhere. Yannick Carrasco. First shooting to prominence as Atletico Madrid's goalscorer in the 2016 Champions League final, Carrasco has more recently gained notoriety following his move to Chinese mid-table side Dalian Yifang in 2018. At the age of just 24, he was one of the younger footballers to ditch European football for the Far East, where he's gone on to score a goal every other game. But the Belgian is already angling for a move back to Europe, with Arsenal and AC Milan the sides linked to it. Obviously the Chinese Super League is what it is, so we can't take his stats there too seriously, but in his last season at Atletico, he was still averaging a key pass and 2.6 dribbles a match, that figure being double any Arsenal player this season. Already a pariah at Dalian Yifang, accused of not putting enough effort in training, deliberately getting suspended and missing flights back to China after international duty, it seems as though those at the club want him gone as much as he wants out. And despite Dalian repeatedly stating Carrasco is not for sale, if he doesn't get his wish to return to Europe ASAP, he'll be remembered as one of football's modern mercenaries. Mauro Icardi. Having built up a reputation as one of Europe's most feared strikers, Mauro Icardi had already scored 100 Serie A goals by the time he was 25, and his influence before that was such that at the age of just 22, he was named Inter captain. Last season, however, all of his work was seemingly undone, and he's now apparently unwanted by new Nerazzurri boss Antonio Conte. Wanda Nara, his agent wife, was extremely critical of Inter's players and management on Italian television in February 2019, so much so that head coach Luciano Spalletti stripped the Argentine of the captaincy. Icardi refused to play in the next fixture before putting himself in a self-imposed exile, where he didn't attend training or games for almost 2 months. He has since returned, but it hasn't quite been the same for him since, scoring just 11 goals in 29 appearances in 2018-19. The fans have turned against him, his teammates have lost respect for him, and the management don't know if they can trust him. It's fair to say Icardi needs to get out of the San Siro and rebuild his reputation elsewhere before it's all too late. Otherwise, we'll be left wondering what could have been. Alexandre Lacazette. Being just 17 when Lyon won the last of their 7 straight Ligue 1 titles in 2008, Alexandre Lacazette hadn't quite broken into the first team, and as a result has just a Coupe de France trophy in his cabinet. Now 28, time is truly running out for the Frenchman to challenge for Europe's most reputable titles, and whilst that's Arsenal, the likelihood is he still won't. 27 goals across 2 seasons with the Gunners may not seem like a great deal. He scored 28 in his last season at Lyon, but he has shifted from the main striker in southeast France to part of a tandem alongside Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in North London. Lacazette still puts up 2.3 shots a game alongside a key pass, whilst his work rate is often highlighted as one of his biggest strengths. Obviously, Arsenal would be reluctant to sell their number 9, however a number of clubs in that tier just above Arsenal are in need of a Lacazette-type player to either start or provide quality backup. He also only has 16 caps and 3 goals for France, despite bagging over 170 across his career. Maybe a move to a true European giant can help him boost those figures too. Don't shoot me, by the way, I'm just the messenger. So that's it for our 11 of players who should probably leave their clubs this summer, but have we missed anyone out? And were we too harsh on including anybody in particular? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. Auf Wiedersehen.